and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Peace Jones. Don't forget to like this video, to comment on this video, and to subscribe to this channel, okay? So I am here with my 10 episode segment on healing, all right? And this 10 episode segment I decided to put together because I feel like, I kind of neglected my healing segment here on this channel, and there's quite a few things that I have experienced, realized, and had to work on in my lifetime, and I just wanted to dig into that, and I hope that a lot of you guys can relate. I hope this inspires you to go on your healing journey, and I hope that you guys can really pull some gems away from these 10 episodes. I thought long and hard about the titles and what I'm gonna talk about, and I just really poured my heart into this. So I hope that you guys enjoy it and you can take something from it, okay? So we are nice and cozy over here. I have this hemp blossom candle going. I have some hot tea. So let's get into it, all right? So the first episode is called That's How It's Supposed to Be, okay? So we're gonna do a little story time here. You guys, there was a point in my life where I think I was so stuck on having to fend for myself, having to do for myself, and almost using that as like a boastful thing, that when I saw people who didn't have to fend for themselves or didn't have to do for themselves, I felt like they were lazy, or they had some type of handout, or having to grind and struggle and, work super hard for everything that you had was some type of thing to be proud of, and to, it kind of puts you on some pedestal, right? So this very moment in this story time I'm going to share with you guys, I realized that that's not really anything to be proud of. That's not how it's supposed to be. And there's a life and a lifestyle and a way that parents are supposed to, treat their children, and the way things are supposed to operate that you haven't quite experienced. But this is how it's supposed to be, right? So as I said, the title is called That's How It's Supposed to Be, okay? So let me take you guys back to, let's say 2018, maybe 2017, right? I was sitting at the break room table with my old coworker, and he was a bit older than me. He had a son that was maybe, let's say, 5 years younger than me, right? And so this son was, I believe, graduating from high school and going off to college. And so he's sitting there at the break room table, and he's like, yeah, he did well this semester, and I'm proud of him. He's going off to college. So I bought him a car, and I let him choose between, I don't know, let's say there were two pretty nice options, right? And he chose this option. And he also said that he wanted a TV for his dorm room, so I'm gonna get him that. And then he wanted to go clothes shopping, so I'm gonna get him some new sneakers and this and that, right? And I don't know how the conversation got to this point. I'm sure I didn't just blurt it out, but in conversation I go, well, yeah, because I had to buy my first car. And yeah, because I don't know anything about that, because I had to, furnish my own dorm room, and, some people don't have someone to send them off to college, and da-da-da. Like I said, I didn't just blurt that out. I wasn't nasty, you know what I mean? But in conversation, somehow it led to me sharing my point, and I said that. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, right? Because like I said, I was so caught up in my head thinking this was normal, right? And the crazy thing is, we're going to talk about trauma bonds at some point, but the dangerous thing about trauma bonds is that you have these thoughts in your head, and this resentment and sometimes anger, and when you trauma bond, you validate those feelings and those thoughts with other people that feel and think the same way. So now you have a group of people or another person that is literally influencing you and your toxic behavior because they feel the same way, right? So I felt like I said, there was nothing wrong with what I said, because guess what? All the people I was bonding with at that point in my life were pretty much trauma bonds, from my platonic relation or friendships to my romantic relationships, right? I never really had somebody stop me and say, whoa, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And it's okay if you see or you hear people talk about how it's supposed to be, right? Like, your reality is not normal. Your reality, I mean, it's normal to a certain extent because a lot of people go through the same things that I did, but it's not how it should be. This isn't something that, you know, God wanted for your life to be. This isn't the standard for how children are supposed to grow up, right? So I remember that coworker responding back, and literally all he said was, "You sound mad. You sound mad." And in that moment, it was like, what could my response be? The only response I had was, I'm not mad. I'm just saying I had to do this and that. And then I had to go home and think about it. And me and the coworker, we didn't get into it. It wasn't an argument. It was no falling out. He just said I sounded mad, and I, said, well, no, I'm not mad. It's just that, some people don't have this. They're not afforded this and that. And then I had to go home and I had to think about it, right? And I had to say to myself, I did sound salty, right? Because why am I telling this grown man who has this son that he's raised, who works hard every day and can afford to A, buy his son a car after he graduates, B, take his kid on a shopping spree, and C, buy him a TV for his dorm room? Why am I feeling some type of way about that? Number one, that has nothing to do with me. And number two, that's how it's supposed to be. And that's why I titled this first segment, or this first episode in my segment, "That's How It's Supposed to Be," right? So the trauma behind that is I had to work so hard at a young age, and I had to always think about what I had to do for myself, and setting aside money and saving and being strategic and planning, and not being able to look forward to my parent buying me a TV for my dorm room, or my parent buying me really anything, I was buying my own clothes for quite a long time at that point. I had bought a lot of things for my dorm room. Now, don't get me wrong, I did have some things purchased for me. I wasn't just out there just getting everything out the mud, but I'm gonna say I was getting a good 95% of things out the mud, like laundry detergent, food, clothes, paying the car insurance, buying the car, all of that. I was literally on adult time at a teenage age range, right? So many things I had to look into for myself. Like I mentioned in my video, growing up without parents, I had to advocate for myself a lot. I had to do a lot of research on my own. I had to for example, let's say I'm trying to get car insurance at 20. I'm calling all these insurance companies. I'm figuring all of this out. I'm finding the best rates, right? I go car shopping. I have to figure out. Now, granted, I did have a neighbor that kind of helped me buy my first car. And when I say buy, I don't mean monetary. I mean he went with me and stuff like that. But anyway, I did so much on my own, you guys. And it was by that time, I was a full-blown adult. Like I said, I was, working with this guy. And I might have been 24 or 25. And by that time, it was ingrained in my head, this is what you do. You gotta work hard, you gotta grind. Nobody's coming to save you. If you mess up, nobody's gonna be there. And mind you, at home, you know, I was hearing these things reiterated. I'm not coming to save you. I'm not going to help you. You need to do this, you know, whole bunch of just not so nice, not so supportive, not so encouraging words, right? And then, like I said, it's getting reiterated and it's getting validated by my friends and whatever guys I was talking to and stuff like that. And so I thought that that was right. I thought that that was okay. I thought that everybody was out here really trying to survive and like having to plan and hustle and grind. And I was like, you know what? No, like parents that plan ahead and want the best for their children, they don't put their children in predicaments where they have to fend for themselves, be on survival mode, save their money, work hard, work 3 jobs, put themselves through college, buy their own clothes, buy their own laundry detergent. Now, don't get me wrong, like kids definitely need discipline. They definitely need to know like what a dollar bill is and how to stretch it and save it and make it work for them, right? But what I'm saying is that had been instilled in my head for so long. I started working when I was 16, literally haven't stopped since. At quite a few points in my life, I was working more than one job, getting off one job, going to the other, you know, really just making it happen for myself. And I did not realize the trauma that I had behind that and the resentment that I had for people who didn't have to do that. You know, I remember, you know, thinking that everyone who had parents that could do stuff for them was spoiled. And that wasn't the case, you know? And I remember kind of feeling some type of way and definitely feeling like I had to defend myself or I had to make a statement whenever I was around friends whose parents did do stuff, you know? Like I remember another friend I had in college, she had a car and it was like a pretty nice car and it had broken down or was having issues, so I drove her to the shop. And I remember her like kind of complaining about like what her dad wasn't doing and how so-and-so needed to do this and that for her car. And I remember blurting out like, well, you know, some of us like don't even have a parent to buy us a car, so you should be grateful that you have this and that, because I had to buy my own car. And I remember her saying like, well, I would have had to buy my own car too if my dad didn't, or something like that. But basically I just remember kind of being on defense when people would complain or when people would not be really grateful for what they had, because I always had to get it on my own, right? And clearly I was a little bit salty about that. And then I also would have a lot of resentment, I guess maybe towards, you know, my grandmother or my situation, where when other people would, you know, say, well, my dad's doing this for me, so come over and, you know, join me, or my mom just bought us this or this and that, like immediately something would click in my head and it would be like, oh, well, this person's privileged, or oh, well, this person, you know, gets this and that. And it wasn't a jealous thing. I think it was just like they need to work harder. Like, I don't know. I can't really describe the feeling, but I remember, I don't think I was jealous, because I don't think I really necessarily wanted the things that they would get, but it would just be like, I just want you to know that you're spoiled. Like I wanted people to admit or know or realize that they were getting something that I never was able to receive. You know what I mean? And when I look back on that, I'm like, ugh, like that was so cringy. And like I said, I was never a nasty person. I was never like a nasty friend. It was just like, well, I'm not coming to your party because your mom bought you a Benz or something, you know? But I do remember having those feelings where I was just like, dang, like, I literally have to fend for myself. I'm out here scraping pennies. I'm out here grinding. And there's people who are literally my same age, same background, same race, same gender, from the same area who have things just laid in their lap, or people that at whatever age I couldn't do certain things or I couldn't go certain places. And that always just kind of bothered me. Like, dang, why is it that I have to do all this and put in all this work, and this struggle is that much more difficult for me, and then other people are just having it laid in their lap? And really, that's how it was supposed to be. Like, parents are supposed to furnish their kids' room. Parents are supposed to buy their kids clothes. Parents are supposed to feed their kids. Parents are supposed to love on their kids, encourage them, send them care packages. Just like do parental things, look out for their kids when they can, maybe surprise them, maybe treat them, right? And because I wasn't getting those things, I felt like, oh, I need to let them know that they're lucky. That's what it was. It was like a feeling that was like, I need you to know how lucky you are, and I need you to recognize that other people don't have it like this. And I don't even know what category to put that feeling in, because like I said, I don't think it was jealousy. I don't think it was envy. I think I just wanted the people to acknowledge that everyone didn't have it like they did, So that is my first episode in story time. The trauma and resentment that I had from having to do so much on my own, having to really be my own advocate and, look out for myself, make things happen for myself. And I'm not saying I'm the only one who did this. I know it was a lot of children who had a lot less than me, who were really carrying things on their back, taking care of their family, taking care of siblings, whatever. And don't get me wrong, I definitely had my needs, but I do feel like, I wanted a little bit more support, a little bit more done for me, a little bit easier of a lifestyle in my teenage and early to mid 20s, right? And so that was some trauma that I had to immediately go home and unravel after that conversation at work, because I was like, that's not cute, right? I shouldn't be out here telling people that they shouldn't be buying what they want to buy for their children, who I'm sure were very deserving, because I didn't have anyone to do that for me. What does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with his son? What does that have to do with anything? Just because I didn't have it, I shouldn't feel like other people need to be super grateful that they do have it, right? Or I shouldn't be trying to dictate how someone else parents their kids because I had to learn the hard way, or I had to get it out the mud, or I had to work that much harder for it, right? If you have it to give to your children, give it to them. And I'm sure that's exactly what he was doing. And that's exactly what I would want to do with my kids. You know what I mean? So yes, that comment was very inappropriate on my end, but that lesson was so profound, and I'm so glad that I did blurt that out, because it literally made me go home that day and think about what I had said and heal from that. Sometimes healing is that simple, just realizing what you said and going back and saying, oh, that didn't sound good to my ears and others' ears, and then you just work out the kinks from there. So this is episode 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you for episode 2.